I have two special guests. One that I wanted to meet for a long time, Brandon Dawson. He's the CEO of the legendary and co-founder of the legendary Cardone Ventures. Everyone knows that. And my mentor. I'm going to try to make it through this interview without crying because that's how much I love this person. She is the incredible Sharon Lechter, keynote speaker, obviously, 5 times New York Times bestselling author, financial advisor to anyone from the presidents down. Needless to say, both of you, welcome to the Playbook.
Thank you, David. We are delighted to be here, and I'm so excited. On my screen, I'm sitting between two of my favorite men on earth, David and Brandon. So I'm excited to be here with both of you. The lady in red here.
Lady in red with her next great New York Times bestseller, the Exit Rich book, right behind you. But I wanted to start with how you two got to know each other and how you're working together today, Sharon.
Well, Brandon, why don't you tell the story?
Yeah, so for me, I started reading Sharon's books. It started with Rich Dad, Poor Dad in the 90s. And then before I started the last company I sold, Cash Flow Quadrant, it gave me an inspiration to help business owners with the skills I had to not only learn to build their businesses, treat them like assets, but also invest in things outside of their businesses that complemented the business so they could create a compounded effect. And I asked Sharon, actually, I ran into Sharon, one of my clients that was going through unbelievable growth, knew I talked a lot about the impact from reading Sharon's books. I was in the process of reading 3 Feet from Gold. And I had mentioned that, I was going to try to locate Sharon, see if I could have her talk to our group. And a few weeks later, one of my founding clients called me and said, hey, I was just at a conference with Sharon and we're coming out to Arizona. Let's get everybody together and talk. And that was the first time I got to meet Sharon in person, and we become dear friends since.
And Sharon, just, it's interesting because I had the same perspective the first time I got to meet you through our friends, in fact, co-author of yours. And you were one of those people bigger than life in my mind. And then when I met you, your humility, was incredible. I believe we're about the same age, Brandon. So, although Sharon looks younger than us, she is older than us, and a legend. And I read her books as well. And, how important is it, because both Brandon and I are going through this now, where people are actually excited to see you. They want to learn from you, and you, in your mind, are still that same person that's living their life, but yet other people have elevated, your personality into something that's unattainable, meaning you couldn't live up to the expectations that they have. And how do you deal with people like Brandon and I when you first meet them that just gush all over you?
Well, you fill my cup up, that's for sure. It's just, it's always wonderful to know that somebody's been inspired by your work. But at the same time, it's like you have to pick up a mirror and say, a lot of people read my work and don't do anything. And so to have the two of you in my life to reach out, to know that I inspired you, for me, it's like, it's just to know that I had an imprint on somebody who was eager enough to change the world on their own. And both of you took what you wanted to do. And yeah, I might have inspired it, but nobody can take away from your success. You created it. And we all three of us know there's a lot of people out there that you can talk to, you're blue in the face. You can let them read everything and they're just going to sit on there, and do nothing. And so to have this kind of association, I talk about the power of association. I look at you guys and I'm inspired to keep doing what I'm doing because of your tremendous success. You both have just been rocket ships, and I'm so thrilled to have you as my friends.
And we feel the same way. And Brandon, building Cardone Ventures is not an easy chore, but if it was easy, everybody would do it. Something I remember Sharon telling me. But moreover, what lessons have you applied to building Cardone Ventures, not only just from your experience, but still from, for example, Exit Rich and other things that Sharon has taught you?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think what's important to understand is when Sharon and I met, I was talking to her about the research. I had spent millions of dollars looking at hundreds of industries that had gone through I was a consolidator in my first business, took it public when I was 29 years old, It was backed by one of the largest private equity groups. And then one day they pulled the carpet out from underneath me. And so I really wanted to have a different view of consolidation and mergers, using a lot of what Jim Collins talks about in Good, Great, Great by Choice. So I had been doing all this work, building all these systems, and I meet Sharon. She goes, I hope you're setting all that up in a different company. And so to talk to you about Cardone Ventures, I have to go back in time to talk about the origin of, I created all these processes and programs for growing, scaling, and maximizing value. And I had them all in the company that I was running. And she goes, you better take all those concepts and put them somewhere else and protect your IP. And she went through this whole IP story, and she and Mike and myself and Natalie went and had dinner, and Sharon and Mike were talking about it. And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, so I set up a new holding company. I assign all my IP. Fast forward 8 or 9 years later, I sell my business for 77 times EBITDA, 150 million. And the public company that bought us went from 1 billion to 4 billion. And I had tailings onto that success. But all that IP was in a different company owned by me exclusively, and they licensed it back. And so to understand what Cardone Ventures is today, it's the actualization, realization of a dream I've had for 15, 20 years on how to grow and scale and create maximum value in businesses. And when I sold for 77 times EBITDA, I'm now, by the way, in Sharon's book, advocating for it, because a lot of the principles and concepts, as we developed a friendship and a relationship over a long period of time, it never was lost on me what she was saying to me. And so Cardone Ventures takes all that success, proven success, and we help independent business owners be able to do what I've helped tens of thousands of business owners at this point do. That's my career, but I don't know that I would have had all the IP and everything. I would have had to restart everything had I not done what Sharon told me to do back in 2010, 11.
Yeah, and it's incredible. And as your career evolves and mine, one of the things that I found is that I'm capable of explaining things and realizing them in a much more simple way. And Sharon, you in your books and when you speak, you're able to articulate the quantifiable value to others in a very simplistic way, get to the core meat of what issue or critical business issue arises, like, hey, what about the IP? In fact, IP is just 2 letters even, but it can change someone's life. And I find that, these very simple lessons come from years of struggle, what I call the dummy tax. I've done a lot in real estate, and people are always worried about, state and federal taxes, transfer luxury tax. I said, whoa. Let's start with the dummy tax, because that's the one that's really expensive. Let's worry about the other taxes later. For you, what were some of the struggles that you went through in order to incorporate and be able to articulate these great lessons that have helped so many people in such a simplistic fashion?
Well, I think part of it is knowing that you want to relate to people where they are. All right. And so if you start talking to them at a level of understanding of money and finance and business where you are, they're never going to connect because it's over their head. So you have to really start from where they are, where their heart is, where their needs are, where their pain points are, and then give them that opportunity to take the first step. Then they feel a little confidence and they take the next step. And you do that by sharing things that they can relate to. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the reason it was so wonderful, we didn't tell people what to do. We shared stories that they could relate to. And once you get them attached here, then they will be, that's when they know, like, and trust you, right? And so when we did Cash Flow Quadrant, for me, it was codifying the way we think about money, and people can understand where they are and where they want to be. And so then you get that aspiration. They want to aspire to be better, to go on the right side. So then you talk to them, well, how do you get to that? Well, you start talking to them about how to buy, build, and create assets, right? If I just started off by saying buy, build, and create assets, it's like they glaze over because they don't know where to begin. And then, as we talk about exit rich, as we now have seen several generations of people building these successful businesses, many people today own a job, not a business, because they haven't put that structure into it. And that's what Brandon did. He understood how to build the systems and the structure that he could then roll up multiple businesses because he had that structure there and could have the kind of profits. So we wanted to share those kind of success stories. Both of you are success stories in building incredibly successful, 100 million plus businesses, right? And so taking that science and coming down and building it into simple steps is what we did in Exit Rich. And the Exit Rich book talks about the 6 Ps on how you build your business. People, who do you have on your team? Who's your mentor? So many business owners try to do it all on their own, right? Of course, your product is the second one. The third one is your processes. And both of you are champions at knowing how to build those processes and those systems. I get blown away every time I go to visit one of Brandon's Cardone Ventures, because he's talking and I'm looking at it, I'm going, I like this. Good job. Because not many people teach systems like I do. And Cardone has taken what I do and 10x it, a little tagline for 10x. And then proprietary. It's kind of my superpower, how to take what you know and license it, how to build that intellectual property, how to identify it, protect it, and leverage it. And part of that identifying it is understanding what to look for. And so we talk about that. So many businesses have a lot of intangible value. They just haven't identified it yet. And then your patrons, your database. Many people today have huge followings on social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, but they don't have them in their database. Those are great lead generation, but you got to nurture them, invite them home to build your database. Many companies sell simply for their database. And then, of course, the profits, which most people focus on product and profit and not everything in between. And both of you know how to do the whole thing. And that's why you've been able to exit rich. And so taking my almost 50 years of experience and combined with Michelle Seller-Tucker, who's a business broker, with her selling and buying and helping people with hundreds of businesses. We took those experiences, both positive and negative, to help people package their business, but also build the business. It's a great tool if you want to invest in a business, to use that to try and analyze what you're doing. And that's why even through this process, Brandon and I reconnected. I didn't even, when he was with Cardone Ventures, and started talking about the processes that he was teaching in Cardone Ventures. And I'm excited to say, this will probably be our first public announcement, Brandon, but we're looking at doing something together, David, to help people understand how to build that structure to exit rich. What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. I think that for the people viewing this, David, and I know I've seen your work out there, and you're trying to guide and assist people on how to improve, succeed, create massive value, which is the same thing I'm doing. I partnered with Grant Cardone because he had such a massive audience, and what he does well with his sales and marketing and then investing so that you can create passive income fit, because although I know how to do that, and I'm spending a lot of time doing real estate and things where it's not my passion. My passion is helping business owners 10x their value and eventually realize an exit, which is where Sharon and I fit perfect with each other. And I've just been so blessed to have so many remarkable mentors, but to be able to take the work I've learned from a Maxwell and a Collins and Sharon and Grant, and be able to take one business owner at a time that have tens of thousands of employees when you add them all up, and see the kind of success that they can have doing it the right way, securing their future value. Part of my frustration in my career is how many business owners work until the end of their tenure, only to realize they didn't create any value because the business is all entirely centered around them. They wear themselves out, the business goes through decline, and then they want to exit, and then they're frustrated that they're not getting a very healthy offer. And then in the growth cycle, so many businesses butt up against what I call break points, different stages of their growth, where they actually go through a devaluation cycle. And the bigger they get, the more pressure that brings to them. And then they exit or do a private equity deal, and they leave all the value off the table, which is what happened with my first business. So I'm very passionate about helping independent business owners preserve and enhance their value. And so getting to work with people like Sharon and all the programs we roll out is very, very satisfying for me personally, professionally, and financially.
And I want to add that, David, you are so dedicated to seeing the value nurturing that and getting them to understand how to add value to the people around them. And that's that you share that. Brandon does too. So I want you to know that, David, when he sold his business, he made sure all of his partners, all of the clients that were part of it, won right alongside him. So
probably the proudest day of my life, David, was when we closed on the transaction. I wired $45 million out to every single employee. If you work for me a day, and 60% of my leadership had been with me more than 14 years, and they were homegrown first jobs. And then my first 200 clients, some of my clients got more money at the sale than their businesses were in size when they started working with me 20 years ago. So that was such a but I believe in sharing with the people who helped create the value.
It's a very common trait between you two gentlemen.
Sharon told me that. Yeah.
My wife asks me all the time, what's my, you've done it in business. What are you doing? I said, well, because I want to leave everyone millionaires, everyone from this top to the bottom. I love it. It's interesting because I'm working with Dr. Wayne Dyer's daughters who are also launching a book. And I literally said, you need to talk to Sharon Lechter. And I think they need to enter the 10X exit program because there's so much value IP that Dr. Dyer, one of my
my goodness, yes, I'd love to. There's so many. They need to treasure it and preserve it. Yes, have them call me. Absolutely.
And to that point, last question real quick, and listening to both of you and just so impressed and excited for the 10X exit, the new program that you guys are working on. I wanted you to put down my name for the next project in a year or two. We're going to call it the 10X Empowerment Program.
All right.
We'll look at all the people that get their exits, and we'll teach them to empower others to scale this thing 10X to a whole nother secondary level of 10X, which becomes the 100X or the 1000X, and eventually becomes our billion X, which is my mission in life. So for you, a great legacy has been created. And now it needs to be preserved and scaled. What is that legacy for both of you? Obviously, you don't need to be here. You want to be here. You get to be here. So I'm always curious about what legacy you'd like to leave with the 10X exit program.
Why don't you start, Brandon?
Yeah, for me, I'm just really frustrated with business owners not understanding, there's 5 levels of exiting, and they don't understand how those 5 build on each other. And so Sharon and I are very familiar. We share in the passion of helping people. The legacy I want to leave is I'm counting how many millionaires I've made, and I'm well into over 300 millionaires that I've helped create. And for me, that goal is to get to 1 million business owners that are multimillionaires because of the help we give them. But you only actualize that if you understand how to put it in place. And so the legacy is, I just want to be known as the business owner who didn't have to do it, but was locked, loaded, and fully committed to helping anybody that wants to raise their hand and participate and help them be able to achieve and accomplish that. And Sharon, we better give them a plug for the 10X exit program. Anybody watching this show can text 33777. Text exit to 33777. Exit 33777, and that will get you into the program.
I love it. Sharon,
I'm really excited about it. And I'm so grateful, David, for you having us on this program. Your smile is contagious. I'm going to be smiling all day long just from seeing you. My legacy is kind of, is because of my age, I've gotten to the point where every day you create your legacy. So I was a little girl. My dad asked me each night, Sharon, have you added value to someone's life today? And he's been gone 15 years, but I still ask myself that every single day. And so when I look to see where I'm going to put my time and energy, I look at places where I can have a maximum impact. When I talk about my Play Big movement, it's being number one in your field, living your legacy, which is every heart you touch every day, and creating maximum impact. And so that's why I choose to spend my time with the two of you, because I see the opportunity to align with people who are out there making huge impacts. And if there's anything that I can do to share and add value to your audience, count me in.
And vice versa. Well, I will tell you that my old daily prayer was to God to have 10 people each day at least that I could help. And now it's changed because of people like both of you, Brandon Dawson and Sharon Lechter. May God put 10 people in front of me that can help at least 10 people a day, exponentially learning the 10X of prayers, taken from Cardone Ventures, and of course, the 10X exit program and all the other great workshops that 10X does. Brandon, what a pleasure it is to have you as one of my new best friends. I'm sure you and I will do many more things together. Sharon, I only got choked up once just while you were talking, thinking about how much you changed my life and how much you still are changing it. A beautiful soul, and you touch me every time I see you. Thank you so much. This is David Meltzer with the extraordinary Brandon Dawson and Sharon Lechter here on Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.